There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up and welcome into episode number 100 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Mark Hall, Matt Gann, no Patrick Hirschberger or Ryan Tyson this week. Today is Thursday, December 7th. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. Help us hit that 2,000 subscriber mark. Helps us out more than you know. Costs you $0, folks. Go ahead and ring that bell as well. You'll get notified whenever we post something new to the channel as well. You can also follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Be Real, whatever else we got going on social media. Go to programguys.com, bunch of written content.
Ryan dropping the written content,
dropping some bombs,
like an AI generated sports website.
That's right. Know? Yeah. Like just call them Sports Illustrated. It's what it is.
Sports Illustrated.
Just say it. But
how dare you tarnish that magazine, you
I know.
Goobers.
Yeah, dumb. But yeah, check that out, Ryan. I had some movie reviews drop. He had Napoleon and what was the other one? I can't remember what the other one was.
I think it was Hunger Games, right? The new Hunger Games movie.
Maybe. Yeah. So Ryan doing a great job with that. So be sure to check that out as well. Gentlemen, 100 episodes in. How we doing, man?
Hey, look at us. Look at us. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I mean, so like, let's be real, right? I would have thought, but also not, right? Because this isn't the 100th meeting of the Program Guys by any means, because we've had post-game pods and we've had roundups and we've had other things as well, EPCs as well,
preview pods. You know, we've gotten together for fun
for 100 weeks for certain. You've had a dose of the Program Guys, and that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool to say.
Hot, steaming dose of the Program Guys.
Yeah,
coming your way once a week. How much more can you ask?
You can't ask a lot. It's pretty cool. And if you've been here with us from the jump, we appreciate you being with us on this ride. Shout out to the OGs. You know who you are. You're in the comments every week, watching every episode. We appreciate it a ton. And we can't thank you guys enough. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to our friends at the Fan Stop who were a big help to us, you know, down the road. They do a great job as well. And yeah, just shout out to any guests we've ever had. That's been a lot of fun. We've had some good ones. Dari Noka, we've had Aaron Miller, we've had
Parker
Thune. You know, just it's cool, man. It's not a lot of pods, especially sports pods, last as long as this. So I want to give credit to us.
A lot of fizzle. A lot of fizzle in the sports podcast world, and we've been able to avoid it. Matt Gann, go ahead.
I mean, I got the honor to host the last pod, which I never thought I would do in 100 episodes, and we'll just keep surprising you. You never know what you're going to get week in and week out, but 100 episodes, I think, is a huge accomplishment. Got to give credit where credit is due to the boys, because we haven't missed 1 week, right? It's been 100 straight weeks. There has not been 1 week where we have missed getting this episode out. So really proud of the guys for getting here. It's crazy to think about where we come from. I went back and watched our first video today and where we've become now.
Weird.
It's quite the transformation. So I'm happy we've continued it on.
It's crazy, man. Let us know down below in the comments if you've been following along with us for this long. One of your favorite memories from the pod. We love reflecting on all of that as well. But folks, there's no OU football game this week, but we got a jam-packed show for you regardless. A lot of stuff to go over. Transfer portal news abound. There's dudes committing to OU. There's dudes trying to leave OU. There's DeMarco Murray sightings all over the place. Tease. I don't know.
Little insider?
Yeah, a little
insider news.
Inside scoop.
So yeah, it's we got a lot to get to. So I want to go ahead and start with the OU news. OU playing Arizona in the Alamo Bowl. That's that came out, you know, Sunday when the college football playoff rankings were announced, and we knew OU wasn't going to be in the New Year's Six Bowl. Just I want to get knee-jerk reactions from you two. OU not in a New Year's Six Bowl. deservedly so, or no? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, just like how Florida State got robbed, getting out of the Final Four. I think OU also got robbed. If you look at the teams that are in the New Year's Six Bowls, when you compare resumes, you compare best games and who went, losses and wins, OU's got the better resume, the better strength of schedule. Of course, what the committee has an emphasis on is your good losses. And when they look at our losses, it's to Oklahoma State and Kansas, which ultimately kept us out of a New Year's Six Bowl. But when I compare the resumes to like a Penn State and those teams that are in there, it doesn't make sense why OU is not in a New Year's Six Bowl and why we're not playing against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. That would obviously be a lot better for ratings because that's all they care about. That's why they didn't put Florida State in. You don't see the Florida State in the Final Four, not just because of their quarterback, but because of matchups and ratings. I think OU got robbed. Now, that being said, it's going to be a fun game playing Arizona in the Alamo Bowl. Mm-hmm. Arizona is not that bad of a team, and their freshman quarterback, Noah, I can't say his last name, and I won't even try. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, and we won't go into too much details today, but really looking forward to the Seth Luttrell offense moving forward and what the Jack offense, according to Mark Hall, will bring to the table. So exciting matchup, but I think we did get robbed out of a New Year's Six Bowl for sure.
You're not putting the right emphasis on it. Jack offense.
It's the Jack offense. It's the Jack offense.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, what do you got?
I'm also excited. So I'll take this sort of the reverse. I'm also excited to see what the Jack offense looks like under Seth Luttrell after the 15 bowl practices. I think it was Teddy and Gabe on their podcast who mentioned it's basically a full spring ball's worth of practice that you get to have leading up to that. And so that's double the amount of time we would have if Dylan were to stick around and play with Jackson, taking the reins. That's fun. I think it probably lends itself to maybe a game like the line is now where we're +3 in San Antonio. I think that's a part of it. You've seen some of the exodus that we're going to talk about shortly, and it's going to be a different looking team on December 27th than it was the last game of the year against Matt's Horned Frogs. I think that the committee, well, not necessarily the committee, but whoever conducts the bowls made a mistake with who they chose for these games. Also, I think that there's no reason why you wouldn't put Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl over Missouri, but I think it's the same conversation that we've had for a few weeks now that has been happening, at least within Oklahoma circles, maybe not on national scales, but why Oklahoma was ranked behind Missouri, Penn State, and Ole Miss in the first place. Those are all teams that don't have wins nearly like the Texas win. And to one of Matt's points, they played tougher teams and then they lost to those teams. That's the argument that you could make. We didn't lose to the tough teams. We lost to the dumb teams. And I think that we
the way that
in the Cotton Bowl. Yeah. Hey, there's some habits you just don't break. And that's one of them for us to this point. I think we should be there, but it'll be fun anyway. It'll be a good game. And now we're not playing an Ohio State defense with Jackson Arnold's first start.
And my thing about this is it sucks not being in a New Year's Six Bowl, and I think you deserved it. All the points that you guys made, but also if you're Oklahoma, you have a chance to get 11 wins this year. Don't shake your head at that. You were 6-7 a year ago. We're not in any position to be turning away wins, especially in today's day and age of football, where you're supposed to catch eyes and try to catch recruits' eyes and all of that stuff. People are going to watch this game. No one's going to not care. You need to perform well in this game. So we'll break down the game as it goes along, but getting to 11 wins is going to be massively, massively important. Mark?
Yeah, we've had this in our comments. I've seen this in the OU sphere online. The idea that 10 wins, even 10 wins is anything but a successful season,
Oh,
miss
yeah.
me with that.
Yeah.
Miss me with that. This season was a step forward. Next
Yeah.
season will be a step forward from this. And if we can get to 11 wins, you know how few teams get to 11 wins every season? You know how few teams reach that height? How many teams for whom that would be the best year in their history? I mean, the standards are high here, but we are reaching the standard. We're not there yet, but we're reaching up towards it.
And you
I've
can
taken that bear for too long.
And you can be upset that OU, lost 2 games to Kansas and Oklahoma State, and it cost you a chance to go to the Big 12 title game and possibly win a Big 12 conference title on the way out. That's all well and good. But we also need to take a step back and look at the state of the program, where it was and where it's heading. Yeah, 100%. If you would have told me at the again, it's cliche, but take a step back. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that OU is going to go into the last game of the season with a chance to win 11 games, I'd take it every time. Every single time. After 6 and 7, I would have signed up. No matter what. I don't care what the losses, who there were to, I would have taken it. And I think everyone else listening would have taken it as well. So that's kind of where I stand with that. So
we just don't like how it looks.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that's okay.
Yeah,
and okay, 100%. I'm fine with that. All right, some transfer portal news. I'm going to rattle these guys off, and then we'll dive into it from there. Okay, quarterback Dylan Gabriel, running back Tawee Walker, offensive lineman Nate Anderson and Savion Byrd, Hollywood Smothers at running back, Jason Llewellyn at tight end, defensive end Reggie Grimes, safety Key Lawrence, running back Marcus Major, and then Marcus Hicks as well. That is who is in the portal as of now. That's 6:35 p.m. on Wednesday, December 6th, Central Time. That's who's in the portal for Oklahoma. Anyone stand out to you guys? It doesn't to me. Like, all those names kind of make sense. I guess you can. I don't really know anybody who was surprised by Dylan Gabriel, but there's people outside of the OU football realm that were like pretty surprised that he was entering the portal. And to me, I either thought it was portal or draft and try to get drafted in like the 4th or 5th round. But I don't know. I wasn't super shocked. I'm rambling now. What do you guys got?
Not super surprised. This is just the nature of the portal now, year in and year out. I mean, we've seen this now the last few years. Guys who didn't get a lot of playing time or want to find other opportunities, this is the way for them to do that. Like Marcus Hicks, for example, already signed with, I believe, South Dakota State, if I'm mistaken. And that's where he's going to get opportunities, and that's okay. And there's a lot of depth to a lot of these different position groups. So one thing, and we'll talk about DG more in depth, but the running back room, I was a little bit surprised by Tawee, Smothers, and Marcus Majors. That's going to leave the running back room to just Gavin Sawchuk, Caleb Hicks, who didn't see a lot of playing time this year, and obviously the number 1 recruit coming in, Taylor Tatum. So obviously that's going to be another question mark, because that was something
Barnes.
Javonte Barnes as well. But
Barnes as well. But someone who didn't get a lot of playing time. So I think it's a little bit unknown. Obviously, Gavin Sawchuk proved that he is a capable RB1, but it will be a good mix to have Taylor Tatum coming in. DG, I think good for him. I mean, he's done nothing but bring this program from the depths of, the lows it's been for a long, long time, since probably the early 2000s, going from a 6 and 7 team, taking this program, leading it on to 10-win plus season. Don't expect him to be in the bowl game. That's rightfully so. But it seems like he's taking his talents to Oregon, and he's got the ability to be really tops in college football in all the major categories, touchdowns, passing yards, all that. Nothing but respect and love for a guy that came in and really elevated this program into the BB area or BB era. So really excited for him and excited to root him on when he goes. So.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, before you go, I wanted to jump in and say that I thought that Dylan leaving makes a ton of sense, and wherever he goes is going to be NIL money galore, more than he's going to make in the NFL in his first year. So yeah, it makes sense for that. Oregon's in on Dylan. USC's in on Dylan. I saw Oregon was also in on the UCLA guy, the UCLA quarterback who was transferring. So it's interesting to see how that goes. Dylan was on the radio with Dylan Buckingham, credit to Dylan Buckingham out of Oklahoma City, and did an interview with him. And I believe he said that he was non-committal for the bowl game, but I think we all know he's not, right? Like I think they're going to just move forward with Jackson and be like, we wish you well. We wish you luck. There's no hard feelings. Go do you, Mark.
They've been saying that at every possible opportunity.
Yeah.
2 years. You know?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Jackson committed, and they're like, Dylan, you got like next year, buddy.
Yeah.
You got next year, and that's only if Jackson doesn't look awesome in the spring.
Mhm.
Like that's all it was. I want to get back to the transfer guys because something that struck me is it's episode 100 for us. We've done this for about 2 years, and a lot of these names are guys that, as we've keyed in on the team more for the purposes of the podcast, these are the names that we've said plenty of, man. Marcus Major, Tawi Walker. How often have we talked about Marcus Major over the last 2 years?
A lot.
Tried to make him be something that sometimes he was, but he often wasn't. Tawi Walker just exploding onto the scene this season. Our Maurice Jones-Drew, I'll always love him for it. Savion Byrd never got there, right?
Nope.
But he's been something we've been reaching for about 2 years now. And Key Lawrence, that's another name that, ups and downs, inconsistent, but all of those guys you really hope find good places, because it seems like even though they might not be actively being processed, they're kind of being processed.
Yeah.
And you hope that they find places and can take advantage of opportunities. Jaden Davis started at corner for Miami this year. David Agwebu played for the Houston Cougars this year. There are guys up and down that list that will go somewhere, make some money, and make a difference for a team. And it's just not going to be Oklahoma. Shout out to all of them, though. They're freaking program guys forever and ever.
I work for Jinx High School, and it's a high school in Northeast Oklahoma. If you don't know about it, it's a good
listening to this and not.
Hey, maybe you don't. But I walk in on Monday. Jinx played in the state championship game on Friday. Rolled in on Monday to work, and I'm up in the building where the football facilities are housed, getting ready to talk to the head coach of the football team. And I see someone in the elevator waiting for the elevator. I kind of look over, I do a double take, it's DeMarco Murray. And I go, oh, that's pretty wild. Don't really say anything to him because he's on the phone. So I go kind of about my business. He's doing his own thing. He's there to meet with someone on the Jinx football team, I'm sure. I'm not going to, blow that up or anything. But he was there on the phone, heard him on the phone say, or he hung up the phone and he goes and talks to the head coach of Jinx, and he introduces himself, DeMarco, and he said, "Hey coach, thanks for coming." He said, "Yeah, man, I'm really sorry I'm late. I've been on the phone all morning dealing with tons of transfer portal stuff." And from that moment, I should have just known, to Matt's point, that running back room is about to see some turnover, because you figured Marcus Major is a name that you're kind of yeah, makes sense. Tawi Walker got a lot of work this year. So maybe that's a meeting that they had that they're kind of we're going to kind of lean on these young guys here. And
you wonder how much that suspension midseason, affected his relationship with DeMarco. Maybe it was just I need a change of scenery.
And with how weird the running back room was, for Smothers not to get as much burn as anyone else was weird. So I guess that's also why you see him in the portal as well.
Well, he had that funky thing last offseason where it was oh, he might transfer to NC
You're
State.
right. No, you're right.
I know he's here, but he might go ahead and leave. And I bet that just lingered all year long for him. And you want to go home? You want to go home? Good luck to him. I do want to retract his program guy forever status. He was a program guy for 6 months. So
yeah,
I'm not giving you that.
No,
Dalen,
you don't.
Good luck to you, sir.
You don't get it. Matt, anything else on the transfers before we move on?
No, happy for all of them. Like Mark said, hopefully they get opportunities elsewhere. But this is going to be the norm year in and year out. But now what we really need to do is take advantage of getting some of these guys in the portal. Mason, I'll let you take it.
Yeah. So OU had a
I hate you.
commit just before we started recording here on Wednesday night, and that is Michigan State offensive tackle Spencer Brown. He's 6'6", 310, I believe. He has 1 year of eligibility. Going to come in, has to figure to be an immediate part of a Bill Beanbo offensive line at right tackle, or left. Who knows? He's played mostly right, from what I understand. So that's a guy, a piece that you've added already in the portal, and I'm sure there's more news that's going to drop, probably even while we're recording this or whatever. I'm going to try to refresh Twitter as much as I can while we're here. But any names out there in the portal that kind of stick out to you? Also kind of funny, I saw Brock Vandegrift. Remember him? Left Georgia, now at Kentucky. Shout out Lincoln Riley. Yeah. So
First on Spencer Brown, before
Yeah.
we hit the transfer portal at large, definitely looks like he's in play for the right tackle position. But at the same time, that's where Jacob Sexton came on and really played well. And suddenly Tyler Guyton's not playing the last couple of games this season, and no one's really questioning it. No one's even talking about it anymore. I think that that's an interesting thing. Wonder what their plan is at the two tackle positions, because yeah, this can be an answer. Sexton's an answer, but you have other guys who have intentions on playing tackle. So that's going to be a delicate balance, a competition, I'm sure. And you might see this guy and someone named Jake starting between the two tackles, and the other Jake is no longer a Sooner after next season, right? That seems to be a recurring thing with offensive line guys, with receivers. Go get an opportunity somewhere once you've found I'm not cut out for this level of ball. That's all I got on that. I just think it's going to be interesting to watch the tackle rotation between both the left and right tackle. Beanball loves to play games. Matt, any thoughts on Brown?
Not specifically Brown. I think it's a good pickup for sure, especially with two guys leaving. Like Walter is going to be gone, right? That was his last year of eligibility. And then Tyler Guyton, obviously we don't know what the situation is, but assume he's gone to the draft at this point. So this is what the portal is about. BV mentioned that he wanted to get his own guys, recruit them, make them homegrown, in-house, but he understands that the portal is just important to build a roster. And so he's going to really have to take advantage, because I think on the first day there was over 1,000 people across the different D1, D2, D3 to enter the portal and enter their names. I mean, guys like the Ohio State quarterback who just went 11-1, put his name in the portal. So it can really surprise you who ends up putting their name, even if they are big names and obviously played a lot at their respective schools. So this is where BB's got to take advantage, like he did last year, where he added a lot of depth to the defensive line. He's going to have to add positions to position groups that maybe there are some holes to fill. I did see they offered a cornerback out of San Diego State as well. So they're just going to continue to target position groups that they need depth for. So it'll be really interesting to see, as the more offers come out, more names come out, who does BV and this coaching staff start to look at to bring to OU?
Well, and Brent said it before, I believe his past two off seasons, like they don't want to live in the portal, right? They don't want to make their money there. They don't want to get their big time contributors from the portal. The goal is to recruit from a very young age, get them in the program and develop them. And those are your product makers. And to Matt's point, that's what you use the portal for, is to get depth pieces, try to fill in some holes where you think you have some holes, and plug and play that way. Not so much live and die by the transfer portal. Like that's something that he said before, and I know that's what he's going to say again when we eventually hear from him. I don't know if we'll hear from him again until the bowl media availability or not. I'm curious about that.
Probably just up to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who chooses, or the whoever manages his media availability are the people who chooses. There are a handful of guys. I think Toriano Pride Jr., he's a corner coming out of Clemson. There's actually been a handful of guys who have left Clemson. Obviously, the absolute exodus happening at Texas A&M. The one name that we've all been looking for, David Hicks, has not yet.
I'm waiting, dude. There's so many. There's so many.
So many guys leaving, so many guys, especially along the defensive line, where Elijah Robertson left to go join Fran Brown at Syracuse, be the DC there. That's a power team, apparently, because Georgia's experiencing a pretty similar thing as far as guys leaving their defense for whom I bet Fran Brown was probably the lead recruiter, the guy they were the closest to. So some interesting relationship stuff to monitor there. I've also, not anything more than anyone else knows, but apparently Dominic McKinley might be on the table again. He's a Texas A&M commit that we covered pretty extensively because we thought Oklahoma was really an option for him. And now that the shift has happened at A&M, is it possible we flip two of those guys? That could be great, but I also think you don't build your boat with the transfer portal, you plug leaks, right? And I don't think we should really count on the transfer portal being how we're going to continue to get the lead playmakers on either side of the ball, because those should be homegrown guys.
Yeah.
Those should be guys that you recruit and develop in-house. Your Nick Andersons, your Jaden Gibsons, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there are, in fact, here, let's make this a little discussion. Guys, what positions do you think we need to hit? Because obviously we don't know the names. We don't scout these guys like everyone else does, like the coaches do. But Mason, are there position groups that you think, hey, we need to go look for people? Because I have a couple ideas, but I want to see what you guys think.
So I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think your edge rushers are going to be okay. I think your interior defensive linemen may be where you look. I don't know what's out there currently. I mean, you mentioned the Texas A&M guys, and that's obviously everyone's going to be trying to scoop those guys up, right? So you're going to be fighting a lot of people for it, and maybe you end up getting one of those guys, and that's how you do it. On the offensive side of the ball, it's tough, right? Because really, in reality, what you need is quality backup at quarterback. And I don't know who's going to sign on to come be the backup quarterback at Oklahoma. Like, I don't think people understand how important, how less stressful this season was because Jackson Arnold was there behind Dylan. Like, we all need to remember that Davis Bevel was a thing, that it can't happen again. You have to have somebody waiting in the wings for an emergency purpose, or even, learning and ready to take the reins, give Jackson some competition, whatever it is. That's kind of what glares out in my mind, because really you look at receiver, you're going to continue to get guys, and the guys that you have right now in that room, I really, really like. You're going to get more Jaden Gibson. You're going to get more Nick Anderson. You're going to get more of everybody else out there, with Drake Stoops being gone and taking a bunch of the catches. So, and at running,
there's a number of guys coming in 24 too.
Exactly. And we talked about the running back room, that's young guys. I mean, they're going to be juniors next year, but Gavin Sawchuk, Javante Barnes, you look at the guys coming in at Taylor Tatum, those are guys, that room's pretty young. So you don't need anything there. And then along the offensive line, I mean, yeah, Spencer Brown is going to be the obvious glaring one, but you would hope you're able to develop Caden Green. Maybe he slides over to left tackle, and that's your guy at left. And maybe you move it around some more that way. I don't know. Wherever you need to put Caden Green, that's where you put him. That in my mind, like, that's just, he needs to be on the field. Then I think they know that. They're not dumb. So just figure it out that way. I feel like that was a long-winded answer.
That was great,
incredible.
Matt. Position groups that Oklahoma should target, you think?
Mason, you killed it, brother. I'm just sitting here thinking, what other football players are there on the field?
I know, I named them all.
I agree. I think in the trenches, always offensive, defensive linemen. always have to get more, always want more depth, especially when heading to the SEC. And those two lines are pivotal to your success. I'm also going to say cornerbacks. I think that's why they offered the guy from Clemson, the guy from San Diego State.
Yeah.
Without Woody Washington having that lockdown guy, they're just going to need a rotation of guys because quarterback's just one of those positions where people are going to rotate. You got to find which guys can lock down. And it's just one of the toughest positions to play. I would say safety as well, since it's a little bit up in the air about what Billy Bowman is going to do, especially with the exit of Key Lawrence. So I think safeties and cornerbacks would I'd be looking for other than just the guys in the trenches. I feel like everywhere else, you got to feel pretty good about, especially with the class that's coming in. I think we'll fill a lot of those gaps, but could always use more corner safeties and guys in the trenches.
I'm so stressed about Billy Bowman. I'm
Me
so
too.
stressed.
Me too.
I'm so stressed.
All right, so I want to second a lot of what you guys said. Here's a couple of other positions that I don't think you mentioned. Hey, we don't know what Danny Stutzman's doing.
Yeah.
He's had
Great point.
opportunities to say that he's going to come back and has chosen not to. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. He's probably just saying, in his own way, pay me more. You know, like just pay me more.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I love being here. Oklahoma's cool. I can be as goofy as I want and people dig it. Just pay me more. Just pay me more. Maybe, but maybe he does go. And if that happens, boy, I love the talent. I don't love the unseasoned of the talent. You know, a white woman cooked that chicken season. You know, that's what I'm talking about. And with Danny, I feel safe. Without Danny, I think you have to hit the portal, get yourself someone there who can step in if needed, a Connor Neer of sorts that might be a little bit more capable of getting onto the field and making plays there. The other one I want to look at is, what do y'all think about tight end? Because Devon Mitchell is coming in, but it's him and Cade McIntyre, who was hurt early in the season, but saw some run. Caden Helms, who we've never seen, and Jason Llewellyn just left in the portal. Josh Fanuel, former basketball player from Cameron. But that list alone doesn't make me feel wonderful.
So, I mean, I think if you're like reading the tea leaves, right? So Lebby had a tight end on the field, but they weren't really involved, right? It was sparingly that they were involved. You got to assume Joe John and Seth Luttrell are going to have more tight end production or want more tight end production. That being said, yeah, you're bringing Devon in and you want to give Devon every opportunity to succeed and try to take that job, right? But I agree. I feel as though you need some sort of production on that, in that room, because all those guys you just named, like you said, no production. They haven't done anything. So maybe you try to go get somebody. And again, I don't even know who's out there. Like if you're coming here for me to list off 5 tight ends that you should offer tomorrow, like I'm not going to do that. But I can agree with you. Bringing in somebody with experience into that tight end room to at least compete is going to be important. Matt?
Yeah, tight ends for sure. I think also maybe some kickers. I don't know.
Please God, kickers.
Bring in some kicker. I feel like our punting when we gave, I think it was Luke, whatever his last name is. I think he came in the last punter and he actually did pretty well. Transfer from Central Michigan, I believe. I could be wrong on all of that, but special teams. I think special teams was pretty bad this year, especially the kicking. So unless they have a guy already in the next recruiting class, why not bring in 3 or 4 guys? I mean, what could you possibly hurt by bringing a couple guys, try them out, and see who can actually kick a 30, 40, 50-yard field goal? Because there's definitely times in the season where there was pivotal moments where a field goal could have really helped, and it ended up really hurting us. So tight ends for sure. Let's get a place kicker. My goodness. Just find someone who can kick a field goal.
It's such a good point. There's space to bring in competition at kicker. There's no reason why we don't bring in some competition at kicker. It took me a sec. I needed to look up the name because I had forgotten it, but At tight end, I'd love to actually see us bring in a Daniel Parker type. Someone who on the field, just a battering ram. You can move him around, put him in the backfield, put him up on the line. In addition to what Devon Mitchell hopefully brings, what Caden Helms can hopefully be, what Cade McIntyre can hopefully be. I don't want anyone that comes in and stunts those guys' growth, but I want someone who kind of knows who they are and they want an opportunity to come win the SEC with Oklahoma. That they want to play for Oklahoma, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to look for at the tight end position. I mean, if the Clemson guy wants to sign, right? If any of these defensive linemen want to sign, sure. But other than the interior defensive line, I'm not sure there's spot that like, hey, we really need to bring in a body or two.
Yeah.
So,
not to start, right?
No,
like not to start. Because
and even D-line, I don't think you need starters, but I certainly would like some more seasoned.
Yeah, but I feel like those guys rotate so much that you can sell playing time, right? Like you can sell playing time to transfer guys for sure. Okay. Moving on. Let us know down below in the comments. Anybody in the transfer portal you think you should go after? To Mark's question, what holes do you think you might need to plug in the transfer portal? We like to read and interact with every single one of your comments. We appreciate it for sticking with us for 100 episodes, 100th episode of the Program Guys podcast. Billy Bowen and Danny Stutzman named to the 2023 CBS Sports 247 All-American team. Billy Bowen, first teamer. Danny Stutzman, second teamer, I believe. That's super cool for them. Still a crime neither of them were up for the Thorpe Award or the Butkus Award. Go back a couple episodes and watch our rants about that. It's absolutely criminal. It's unreal. It's just a shame.
Full on crime. On crime. Both of those guys are super deserving, and there's a real possibility we've seen the last of them in Crimson and Cream, and if they don't win those awards on their way out, that's a bummer, man. They're both deserving.
Yeah, they truly are. They improved so much. Just really, really improved. And credit. I was so hard on Danny, and I'm not gonna back down from it. Last year, I feel as though he deserved a lot of the criticism, but I was singing his praises all year long. You can go back and watch every post game, every pregame, whatever you want to watch. I was Danny's biggest supporter this year. I thought he really, really improved, and I think he can improve a lot more and even be a first rounder if he sticks around OU for one more year, but it's up to him. And I understand that money talks and you got to do what's best for you. Cause he's already a banged up individual, right? Like how many more he's already wearing a bionic arm, like how much more do you have to prove yourself before you're just like, all right, time to start getting like legitimately paid for this. So I get it. Anything on those guys?
I would just say two key pieces to the defense. They anchor. I mean, they've been our two best defensive players, and it'd be really, really troublesome if we didn't have either one of those guys heading into the SEC next year. So,
yeah,
I'm holding my fingers because we need both of those guys.
Did you guys see the college football playoff ranking? Obviously, you saw it, but like someone like edited Big Ten and SEC next, like of the future of like the top 15, and like 14 of the 15 were either Big Ten or SEC schools. It's crazy. It's going to be wild. Going to be.
I didn't see it, but it does. It starts to explain why NCAA president Charlie Baker suggested basically a super league for all of the big teams that matter. Yeah. And sorry, that's really dismissive, and I don't mean it to be, but the big teams that can support it in another kind of way, your Oklahomas, your Alabamas, your Oregons, your Michigans, your Ohio States, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they don't need the NCAA to do that. They're already running college football.
Yeah.
From a recruiting standpoint, from a funding standpoint, from a ratings standpoint, and from a competition standpoint, running football. And next year it's just going to be even more of that, as the graphic you showed or you discuss, kind of points out. It's pretty wild to me.
Matt.
Nothing on my end. It's just going to be a wild year.
It's going to be nuts. Looking forward to it. Check out the program roundup if you haven't. We recapped the college football playoff rankings last week. A really fun discussion that we had about the rankings, how they got to their decision, and some of the New Year's Six bowl games as well. Okay. Circle the wagons. Let's get to it. What do you say, Matt Gam?
Absolutely.
Because we got a red hot basketball team to talk about. My God, do we have a red hot basketball team to talk about?
Yeah, big win last night in the Big 12 Big East Challenge, playing the Providence Friars. Can anyone tell me what a friar is, Mark?
Some sort of like religious figurehead person within.
He's like
the Catholic Church.
Yeah, not like a monk, but similar.
Hey, well, they had nothing going on last night against the Boomer Sooner OU men's basketball team. Porter Moser has his team rocking and rolling, currently at an 8-0 start, which is the best start that he's had in his career since back at Loyola Chicago. Big win last night, like I mentioned, winning by 20-plus points. And, guys, we look good on both sides of the ball. It's not just offensively with Javon McCollum, but it's the defense, too. They are getting after people, turning the ball over and causing a lot of disruptions, which they did last night. Huge win on their part, and obviously ranked in the top 25, and will continue to work down that list where their next 7 games are definitely winnable. They got a couple games, or their next game against Arkansas, Whoopig Sioux. That's going to be a big game for the Sooners, as well as in a couple weeks in the Jump Man Invitational. They're going to play a top 10 North Carolina Tar Heels team. So we're really going to see over the next few weeks through the end of the year in December what this team is truly capable of. But they've shown you nothing but increased improvement, and this team is playing really well. Even the Providence head coach last night after the game, talking about our point guard, Javon, saying he looked like Allen Iverson out there. And, man, when I rewatched the highlights, he definitely did. He was crossing it up. He was doing step-back threes. He was scoring in every single way. Again, this is the transfer from Siena. He's been the biggest impact on the team, so hopefully they can continue that hot streak again when they play the Hogs next week and a couple more games they have down the line. So watch out for this squad. This might be the year they can finally make maybe a pretty deep run into the NCAA tournament at this pace. So we'll see. It's a little too early on, but there are some good games ahead. Any comments from you guys on OU's men's basketball and their current run?
This is going to be a good test for them against Arkansas. Musselman has that program running well down there in Fayetteville, but I really like what I see out of this Porter Moser team. It's wild to see what it looks like. I think he's in year 3 now, and you're starting to see his program kind of take shape, right? They're forming an identity. They're getting some guys in that they wanted in, and not, holdovers from previous regimes. And that's not to say that Lon Kruger's regime was bad by any means. He had a great run here while at Oklahoma, but it's fun to see Porter Moser finally get some support for this team. And they had a great showing at the McCaslin Fieldhouse, that all student game. They're doing the right things, and I'm excited for them.
Don't you think Porter Moser, I mean, we talked about it in the preseason, he just looked like he was on his last legs. He looked so defeated with the roster turnover, the way that the university is just not supporting basketball the way that they probably told him they would. And he's just trucked along through it, man. He buys pizza every year for the student section. He shows up with as much pizza as he can, and he goes home with a lot of it most years. And they're showing up a little bit better this year. And my sort of policy with the Lon Kruger era was, if you can get me a team to be excited about every 3 or 4 years, I'm in. I'm good. I don't need this to be a basketball team every single year that is making deep runs, because I have the football team. I just do. It's very fun when they are good, and hopefully it can maintain forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
But in our recent past, the teams that actually do well only really have like all of them have a player of the year candidate. And maybe JV McCollum is that, but if we can get into this new era where it doesn't take that to be consistently good, that'll be a nice change of pace.
Yep.
That'll be a nice change of pace.
It absolutely will be. And just give another quick update on the other side, the women's program, 6-2 overall, just beat a Grambling 103-69, which was a good bounce back after losing 2 straight to Princeton and Tennessee, who again, top 25 teams currently in the NCAA women's division, but good to see they get a bounce back, and they will play a pretty good team in UNLV this upcoming weekend before they do their own Jumpman Invitational against UNC, which I think both games will be played that same weekend for both men and women's, and both teams on both sides are pretty good. So we should get a pretty good barometer of where these teams are truly at through the course of December, playing some high-profile games. But both these programs are rocking. That's what you like to see out of Jenny B and Moser himself. So glad they're taking shape. That's my quick updates for Circle the Wagons.
I love Jenny Baranchik so much. I love her. Okay. PGP MVP of the week time. Edition number 100. Boys, who's your PGP MVP of the week for the 100th time?
Oof.
Everyone's flexed. You feel like you have to have a really good one because it's episode
Yeah.
100, right?
I feel like the obvious one is the boys, but I feel like that's just an unwritten rule,
the guys
so.
are always, MVPs, always. But
Let me look. I haven't had too much to look today. I'll just go. Feel like this one's too obvious for me, but I'll just go the Green Bay Packers. Good victory over Kansas City Sunday night. Obviously, some questionable calls. We don't need to go into it, but for a team,
pass interference like it was Drake Stoops.
Or that really bad roughing the passer penalty when he's not going out of bounds, whatever. Anyways, the Packers team is in position to potentially make the playoffs when everyone wrote them out. Everyone was writing out, hey, is Jordan Love the guy? Why did they spend a high draft pick on him a couple years back when you had Aaron Rodgers? And you're starting to see what Jordan Love really has potential. Obviously, we want to see some more consistency, but this team has the ability over the next 4 to 5 weeks with teams that are currently have a losing record of under 500. So they have the potential to potentially get to the playoffs, which would, I think, be a very successful first year post Aaron Rodgers. So I'll go Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers for a big win over the defending champs Sunday Night Football.
Love it. Mark, who you got, man?
Yeah, 100th episode. Producer Trevor, my MVP. Always has our back or gets to us so quickly if he can't do something. Like just always helpful and creative and imaginative and thinking about ways that we can be better and produce more and do more, and just a backbone to the operation that you guys don't always see, but we wouldn't look as good and feel as good and smell as good as we do without Trevor in the picture. So Trevor, you're my MVP. 100 episodes in. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Trevor does so much, folks. Anything you see on this podcast in terms of graphics, that's all Trevor. He makes us look professional. Really, shout out to him. My PGP MVP of the week, Baker Reagan Mayfield, gonna be a dad. He's had a weird NFL.
Congrats on the sex, Baker.
Yeah, congrats on the sex, man.
That's Mason's MVP.
Yeah, it is. He's had a weird NFL career. He was in his press conference, his weekly press conference today, and they asked him about being a dad, and he was just kind of like, it's exciting because it really puts into perspective. There's more things to life than football, and it's cool that a guy who's had such a tumultuous career as he has, moving around and being the number 1 overall pick and not meeting expectations and then meeting expectations and exceeding them and then getting kicked out of Cleveland, all that stuff that he's been through, to kind of have that perspective and be like, you know what, I'm going to be a dad. And that's like super dope. That's awesome. Good for Baker Reagan Mayfield.
I feel like it's not his fault. His career's been so tumultuous. He
No.
played through that injury, and well, okay, to the degree that he played through that injury, yeah, that was your fault, baby.
Yeah.
But past that, like Cleveland wanted to make a stupid decision, and then you're on this castaway team with Matt Rule in Carolina, and I feel like he's played well in Tampa Bay, but you wonder what they're gonna do. It's just a weird,
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious what it's going to look like down in Tampa Bay come season's end. If they make the playoffs, that's something, because that division's still wide open. With
Dog water. I wouldn't let my dogs drink the NFC water. Okay.
It's wild. And with that, folks, episode number 100 is in the books. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate you so much for tuning in. Patrick, Ryan, we wish you were here. Thank you to Trevor. Thank you to everybody who subscribed over the past 2 years. We're going to keep on pushing that content out to you. We're going to keep on doing our best. And we appreciate you tuning in every single week. Like, subscribe, follow on all of our channels. Helps us out more than you know. That's going to do it. Mark, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.